And then right through 12 p.m. lunchtime, we got GFF with Vinny Nizian, and then 1 p.m. Investor RT, and then right into 2 RCM with Walter Galwas. So a lot on tap today. So for you guys. All right, let's get into today. Again, for those that were around late yesterday into the close, or slightly after the close, we're kind of walking through the 3-day cycle with everyone, and just trying to keep you increase your level of understanding. Again, the 3-day cycle, it takes some bit to follow and understand, and what's to be anticipated perhaps for the next day, and so forth. So yesterday we left off with a cycle day 1 low in place, and I've marked that on the chart here. Okay, and again, the goal of a cycle day 1 is to find a secure low, all right, for the cycle, kind of an anchor point. And then once the market is satisfied with that low, okay, the buyers step in, and again, once all the selling has been absorbed, that's the idea. All right, to establish a low, all right, they're going to push it down. So the idea is to get, the big boys' main goal, right, is to use everybody else. All right. We're in the PTG room, so you can click on that, the PTG charts if you want. So the big boys are moving prices around so they can establish positions where they want to, where they find it is best for them. All right, and so you got the large institutional traders, right? You get the hedgies, you get all those, money managers, and they're all, certainly working on their own behalf, but collectively as a group, they tend to move in the same directions most times. So um, so the market is pushed down, okay, to a point where they clean up all the weak sellers, all right, and then establish positions at more favorable lower prices. Remember, they don't necessarily care about, if they want to establish positions, they want to do it as low as they can. So they in a sense force the price down, all right, to establish positions, because they want to get them at as lower price. Once they've cleaned all the weak folks out, then that's when they start moving it higher. Does the 3-day cycle always start with the first trading day of the week? No. Okay, the 3-day cycle is not a calendar cycle. Okay, it is a rolling 3 days. The initial date was established in our case well over 10 years ago. I don't know the exact day it was established, but it is not a calendar cycle. All right, so the Monday is not cycle day 1, or Tuesday is not cycle day 1. All right, so that's the goal of cycle day 1. It was to establish a low. Once that's established, then the powers that be, the big folks, the big institutions can rally price higher. Okay, and that's what they did yesterday. All right, so they gapped it lower. All right, we talked about this cluster of volume looking to find support yesterday. Found the support, market reversed, pushed all the way up near to our target. We had very close to our target up here, and then later in the session, we just pulled back. Now, when we were exiting the session yesterday, I gave a preview to those that were around about what couple different scenarios, could possibly unfold on a day like today. And one of them, a cycle day 2, and I wrote in the daily trade strategy. You can read that today. There's a link in there with the password. A cycle day 2, in a normal cycle day 2, would be a backing and fill type day. okay, backing in fill. And so what we did yesterday was establish the range from yesterday, the low to the high, right? So I've just marked those off, right? Again, again, no calculus here, just simple, you know, identifying lows and highs. And then the midpoint, identifying the midpoint, that's that dashed line of yesterday's range. So again, the three cardinal points, right, that I always look at is the high, low, and midpoint of any range, daily, weekly, intraday, doesn't matter. And that provides me reference points. So coming into today, the idea was two things. One, looking for somewhat of a consolidation type day, all right, at least initially, still with somewhat of an upside, bias since the bigger trend is still intact and that hasn't been really challenged yet. All right, so with an upside slant to it. So the idea would be a pullback to the midpoint of the range, okay, which is the 76s, hold at or near that, and then try to work its way back to retest the highs. If the market retests the highs, if that scenario unfolds and it's converted, the highs converted to new upper support, then there's expansion range targets, and I've outlined those in the daily trade strategy report, scenario 1. The flip side was hold below 76s, all right, throughout the session, and then move down to the 2766 cycle day 1 low. Again, there is, if the market converts that to lower resistance, again, then there's lower targets, lower levels. Again, those are outlined as well in the daily scenario 2, okay, based upon that. So we have Fed Day minutes, FOMC minutes coming out later today. Certainly the market's going to be paying attention, all right, to going to be paying attention to what those are, what the results are of that. But for the time being, again, that's something that will happen. I think it's around 2 o'clock. It comes out, if I'm not mistaken. So for the time being, we're just going to trade the market as normal. So right now, we still have a long bias. All right, you can see the grid over to the left. Okay, overnight grid. We had a long bias yesterday. Some people certainly think that the market may sell off today, which could very well be the case. I don't know. All right, and nor do we need to know. All right, nor am I guessing on whether something like that will happen. Simply, I know inflection points. If the market holds above 76s, we have favorability to move higher. If it, breaks down through 76 and fails to recover, okay, and this is all dynamic stuff that we read, throughout the session. All right, and we examine throughout the session. So if the market, comes down, violates those 76, 74 area, the overnight lows, holds below that or fails to rally, then the probabilities begin to favor lower levels, and we can establish shorts, at that time. But to establish shorts in a bullish configuration is not something that we do. Others do that, and it's part of their particular trade plan. And again, that's what makes the world go around here in the trading world, right? So we'll see. 76 is an important kind of fulcrum point, all right, for us, and that's why I leveled it as our effectively over under today. That level, obviously it's not the midpoint of a session is not always going to be the fulcrum point, all right, based on a number of different factors. But in terms of yesterday coming into today, effectively that's what we have. All right, so that's the skinny as I see it right now. We'll see how this plays out. All right, we're gonna again stay focused on the with the bias grid here. All right, with our matrix, you can see bias 1 through 6 is solidly green. 7 will more likely turn green if it stays for another few minutes or so. Momentum is dragging to the upside, And that's it. All right. You can see the 3-day central pivot zone here. This magenta zone. All right. We talked about that. There's a video on that if you want to watch that on the website about what the 3-day central pivot zone represents and so forth. All right. It's a short little video. But it is a key zone that we look at each and every day. All right. And many of the big institutions also pay very close attention to this zone. A lot of people use moving averages. You know, again, everybody to a degree uses moving averages. The zone here represents the pivot and the midpoint on a 3-day rolling basis. Okay. So that is it. So right now we're going to open the session with a long bias. All right. And again, a long bias doesn't necessarily mean we immediately buy, but it's a long bias. Basically, we're looking for long, opportunities. Um, Certainly, if we get some sort of a pullback to a reasonable zone, all right, we're looking for that and looking for that bias to be maintained. Okay. Thank you guys for helping the other folks out. I appreciate it. All right, that have questions and try to get access to the charts. Okay. And that's it on the shorter term picture. Again, the bigger picture here, okay, is still we're in a daily uptrend. All right. Again, there is still fuel in the tank, so to speak. All right, to get back up. All right, to these prior highs. All right, whether the Fed minutes shed any light further than what we already know. Okay, about their intent and so forth. A lot of the questions still remain about the balance sheet. All right, adjustments. So I can't say that I'm smart enough to figure that out. I'll let all the other folks, that deal with that, uh, you know, try to figure out what all that means. For me, for us, I'm just looking at, price action. And as far as I'm concerned, everything's contained, all right, in price. When the sentiment changes, when ideas or when viewpoints change, the market will begin to show those changes. All right. I don't need to try to anticipate what those changes are. And that's where a lot of people differ in trading, right? They're trying to guess what's going to happen. I have never been trained in that way. I've always been trained as market maker in years back and so forth throughout my career. I don't need to guess. I don't need to try to figure it out. I just need to be able to observe it. And when we're able to observe it, then we can establish ourselves in a way to take advantage of it. And that is basically the skinny. All right. So we're going to switch over to our open range charts here, and we'll see how this plays out. Okay. So basically, it looks like we are, we're basically inside yesterday's range. So we have an inside gap, all right, or an inside open rather. Okay. And we'll see how this plays out here. All right, see if I can get a trade off of this. So we have a small little gap here, but it's an inside gap. So we're not really out of balance. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to hopefully be a little bit more focused today. Yesterday, at the start of everything, I was a bit unfocused. Let's see if I can get a little bit more focused today with everything. Okay. All right, let me just readjust my clock. There we go. All right, dingity ding ding. Hi, good morning, Chuck. All right. So again, we have an inside range, small gap. Area is fairly balanced in here, and we'll see how this can play out for us early. Again, the lean overall is still upwards. All right, but again, we're going to remain flexible for